Hello, everybody. Here we are, We-MNF, where the masses meet the nerds and the freaks. Just to remind, this is the meeting of our sides, masses, nerds, and freaks. And today, what I'll bring, Chico doesn't have a clue, is Genesis, a fundamental progressive band. So it is a track from Genesis with Peter Gabriel. In fact, the last album in which Peter Gabriel was the lead singer in the band, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. After this recording, Peter Gabriel left the band, pursue a very successful solo career that's going on up to these days. It was a very friendly departure. So Gabriel and his colleagues continue working together. So many musicians from Genesis play in the solo recordings by Peter Gabriel. So it was not a problematic leaving of the band. And then, as everybody knows, Phil Collins got the lead vocals and was very competent in being the lead vocals of Genesis for the rest of the career of the band. So this was 1974, and that's the sixth studio album by the band. And it was a double album. And that was a bold move because to sell a double album was when it was vinyl albums, was complicated. But the album was very successful. It was the 10th most sold album in the UK album chart, and in the Billboard in the US was number 41. So that's an accomplishment to sell such numbers of a double vinyl album. The lineup is Peter Gabriel on lead vocals and flute. Phil Collins is on the drums, percussion, vibraphone, and the backing vocals. Steve Hackett in all guitars, Mike Rutherford on the bass guitar and also 12-string guitar, and Tony Banks on keyboards and also playing guitar. So that's the classical Genesis lineup from the beginning of the 70s. So let me share here. And arrange things properly. So we need this video panel here. We need to put us like that. Put us in the right place. Hide these things. And let's go Carpet Crawlers by Genesis. The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
There is lamb's wool under my naked feet. The wool is soft and warm, gives off some kind of heat. A salamander scurries into flame to be destroyed. Imaginary creatures are trapped in birth on celluloid. The fleas cling to the golden fleece, hoping they'll find peace. Each thought and gesture a card in celluloid. There's no hiding in memory, there's no room to avoid. The crawlers cover the floor in the red oak corridor. On my second sight of people, they've more lifeblood than before. They're moving in time to a heavy wooden door, where the needle's eye is winking, closing on the pore. The carpet crawlers heed their callers. We gotta get in to get out. We gotta get in to get out. We gotta get in to get out.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, one thing that we hear in this track and immediately gets our attention, gets us on the move, makes us go into a stream of consciousness is Tony Banks' work on the keyboards. It has this continuous flow of notes, very beautifully done. And you know he's not a sequencer. He really does it. Because if you see the videos alive, they are not simply leaving for a machine to do the repetition of the notes. That's why it is so enticing, because it's not like a perfect repetition. It's very beautiful, very beautiful. And in this album, the lyrics are very special. So it is a concept story about Rael, which is an adolescent from New York who is in a self-discovery trip, trying to discover himself, get more self-knowledge of himself. So it's a concept album. So the whole four sides are the history of Rael. And the lyrics were so important that Peter Gabriel was only writing the lyrics. So in the previous albums, all the musicians in the band would be contributing lyrics and music. But in this recording, Gabriel had only to take care of the lyrics. They were very challenging lyrics. And so most of the music was composed by the other people in the band, and most of the lyrics by Peter Gabriel. And he used a technique for writing, which is a surrealistic writing technique, which was invented by André Breton, which was a kind the leader and creator of the surrealistic movement in literature. And the idea is that you write automatically. Then you try to get into this stream of consciousness mood, and you simply write. So that's how the lyrics were written. Yeah. I'll tell more about the story later. Should I go back or want to say something, Chico?
I can use said
I
a
said
lot.
yeah.
Okay, it's okay. You can
Okay.
continue.
So yeah, I talk too much. Let me go back a bit so that you
No,
can.
it's nice. I
Oh,
will call attention by the Tony Banks keyboard that really sounds like a sequencer, but it's not. It's
it's not a
incredible
sequence.
with this.
Yeah. He
And
was a very good keyboard player. Very good. He is a very good keyboard player. Not was.
and I always love the bass lines of the Mark Woodford.
Yeah.
Is not. I think he's not appreciated enough uh, as a great bass player that I think he is.
Yeah.
So this is another example. The song is so surrealistic, like said, that the bass is not in the front of the
Yeah. Yeah.
soundscape, but it's incredible too. This bass line,
Yeah. And yeah, Michael Rutherford is certainly underrated.
I
Let's
think is.
go back a bit and
There's only one direction in the faces that I see. It's upward to the ceiling where the chamber's said to be. Like the forest fight, the sunlight that takes root in every tree. They are pulled up by the magnet, leaving their free. The carpet crawlers, he dare call us. We gotta get in to get out. We gotta get in to get out. We gotta get in to get out. Mild man and Superman are held in grim
And it's also amazing what Steve Hackett is doing. So you see the keyboards are up front because they should be up front because they are creating all these surrealistic, dreamy atmosphere. And you write the bass line is so beautiful what Mike Rutherford is doing. And then you have Steve Hackett with these incredibly trippy guitar sounds in the back of the mixing. The kind of the back is lower, but gets your attention because it is like you have this repetition here and then you have these long notes of the guitar. It's very well thought of, I think.
What is interesting to me is that it's a pop song, if
It
you
is.
think
It is a pop
right.
song.
And why is a pop song? Because the melody is so beautiful and structured,
And
and
this
the bass,
verse, chorus is exactly the structure you have in a pop song. Yeah.
yeah, you has resolutions of the melody, and the bass line is following behind the singer all the time.
Yeah.
uh, they made the counterpoint points of the melody, but it almost the same melody, not exactly, but is following that. And that is the structure of the music, and all the rest doing elements that provoke our unconscious,
Yeah. Yeah.
like the keyboard, guitars,
Yeah.
and
It's
incredible.
amazing. It's amazing. And also Peter Gabriel singing when he goes to these verses, mild manner Superman are held in kryptonite. It's I always feel like because he goes up, the voice becomes stronger and more enticing than in the verses before. So it's always for me a climax. And I remember the first time I heard this song, I was my mother was treating a number of people who had problems with drug addiction, and many of these people here in Salvador, in Bahia, in Brazil, they were into this kind of music. Yeah, they were coming from the '60s, and it was with them, to which I'm deeply thankful, that I started learning about progressive rock about Genesis, Supertramp, and Kansas, and Yes, was through them. And then one of them gave me a cassette uh, with some songs recorded, and then we would begin with the Carpet Crawlers, this track, and we would seg into a great track by Jethro Tull called One White Duck, Zero to the potency of 10 equals nothing at all. And these two tracks together was always so fantastic. It got me in a completely different state of mind, and I was a teenager, yes. So this part of the lyric saying that you've got to get in to get out was so significant for me. Which after we finish the track, I'll tell a bit of the story of why it is written. We got to get in to get out. But for me at that point, I didn't have a clue about the whole story, so I was listening only to this track, and it meant something so special to me because I was in this trip to self discover myself, to get more knowledge about myself, which the topic of the album. That was going on with Rael as an adolescent from New York trying to find himself. And for me, it was like, well, to figure out who I am in this turmoil, which are the teenager years, I've got to get into myself to then get out. So it was so meaningful that you listen to this. We've got to get in to get out. So was a very was an incredible musical experience. It is up to today, but remembering what was when I was like 14 years of age, I think I was in Rio, had moved to another city, and was in a new school. Was my life was changing a lot, and I was in this point where we're trying to figure out who we are. And this track was telling me, Peter Gabriel was telling me, yeah, you need to take more attention into yourself, within yourself. Then you merge into the world. So it was so meaningful. It's amazing.
So who was your caller at the time?
What's your color?
Caller, color.
My call out. I don't know. I was trying to build social relations as a teenager. I think I had to get along with a new school, new new
You identify
friends.
yourself with the song, right? You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
you had to be a color.
Yeah, my call out was that I had to figure out how to handle the word. And usually when you think about that, you take an outward movement. You try to create a persona and find a way of making a character. But this track was telling me I should do the opposite. Instead of making a persona to get along with people, I had to find out who I am. So it was really significant. I'll go back so that we finish the track and then I will tell a bit about Rail.
The porcelain mannequin with shattered skin fears attack, and the eager pack lift up their pitchers. They carry all they lack. The liquid has congealed, which has seeped out through the crack, and the tickler takes his stickle back. The carpet crawlers heed their callers. We gotta get in to get out. We gotta get in to get out.
Steve Hackett.
We gotta get in to get out. We got to get in to get out. Got to get in.
Phil Collins. We didn't talk much about Phil Collins drumming, but it's also amazing. Yeah? We talk
Yes,
about everybody except Phil Collins. So he's drumming incredibly all the time in it. Very like a beating machine. And in the end, his voice comes so beautifully uh, as a backing vocal. He's a great singer too.
great drama.
Great drummer, great singer. That's a fantastic band. All the musicianship is amazing. And think about having two singers of the quality of Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins, the same band. So
But in terms of the knowledge of music, I think Phil Collins is special compared to another members of the group.
oh,
Really,
I think so
even
difficult
even
to compare them.
even Peter Gabriel. No, I think musically, music.
Hmm.
We
You
talking
can
about
judge this better
music.
than me. That's true. You can judge this better than me.
Eric Clapton once had a band. Phil Collins was the drummer.
Hmm.
Nathan is the bass player, and the keyboards is a guy called Greg that uh, uh, record albums like Michael Jackson Thriller, for
Hmm.
example.
Hmm.
It's a great keyboard, American keyboard. This is one best band that Clapton had in life, and the drummer was
It
Phil
was Phil
Collins.
Collins.
Yes, a great band.
Yeah. Phil Collins always played the drums, even when Genesis was playing live. I had these amazing videos where Chester Thompson plays most of the time because Phil Collins has to have to sing, yeah. But sometimes he would go to the drum set. He's had his own drum set, and then Genesis would have for the instrumental parts two drummers, Chester Thompson and Phil Collins. That was amazing. So these videos are amazing to see. So yeah, that was a great band. It remained a great band after. after Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel left. Peter Gabriel made fantastic studio albums, and Genesis was doing fantastic albums. So then you have an incredibly flourishing career for all these musicians. Then Mike Rutherford have Mike and the Mechanics, which was incredibly successful. Was a very successful
Yes.
pop band. So
Great man, great man.
yeah, Steve Hackett had a very nice solo career too. So yeah,
But
they made history.
Phil Collins had Brand X,
Brand X,
the,
yeah, Brand X,
the
yeah, yeah.
great
Great
band.
pop band,
The
jazzy pop.
fusion
It's a
band, fusion
fusion, but it's a very pop too, you know.
band.
It's
And
jazzy fusion pop, if I would say.
the best example is the career solo of him.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You see
Is
that
great, the
all,
best.
all all these guys made history, and they began the end of the 60s very young musicians. Steve Hackett was not with them. The first guitar player was Anthony Phillips, which also made a very nice solo albums afterwards. And so it's a great, great band indeed. I like to tell a story about where Carpet Crawlers is located, just to make a commentary on how I understood this. We've got to get into Get Out in my teenager years, but it's very different when you read the whole story. So the story is that uh, begins with Rael in one morning in New York City. He's with a can of spray pants trying to uh, make some graffiti on the walls, hating everybody around him. And then he see a lamp lying down on Broadway. That was the recording is called The Lamp Lies Down on Broadway. And this lamp has an incredible impression on him. So we are in the first track, which The Lamp Lies Down on Broadway. Then he decides to walk along the street under the impression of this lamp, and then he see a dark cloud take the shape of a movie screen. And the dark cloud comes towards him and absorbs him. So he's into the dark cloud. Then this is the second track, Fly on a Windshield. Then he, inside this movie screen like dark cloud, he sees an explosion of images of the current day in New York. So it's Broadway Melody of 1974. And then he wakes up in a cave and then falls asleep again. And so that's a great track called Cuckoo, 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 Cuckoo. It's hard to say that. And then he wakes up and he's trapped in a cage made of stalactites and stalagmites. And while he's trying to escape, he sees other people in similar cages, and he sees his brother John outside the cage and tries to call him, but then John walks away, and then the cage suddenly disappears, and that's the famous track In the Cage. And then it's very surrealistic, so it's moving like a dream from scene to scene. So next scene, he's himself on the floor of a factory where a woman gives a tour to him, where he watches people process it like packages, like commercial packages. And then, feeling for his life, he escapes into a corridor. Then we are in the grand parade of lifeless packaging. And then in the vinyl, this is the end of side one. Then Rael has a flashback from a gang raid in New York City. He was part of a gang. And then he dreams that his hairy heart, his heart is full of hair, and is removed and shaved with a razor, the heart. So that's back in New York City. Then he has a flashback of his first sexual encounter. That's Counting on Time. And then when the flashback of his first sexual encounter ends, he finds himself in a long red carpet corridor of people who are crawling towards a wooden door. And then Rael runs past these people and exits via a spiral staircase. So that's carpet crawlers. So in fact, they describe these people who are moving in this carpet, going up, moving to some wooden door, and then Rail runs, and then we've got to get out, that we need to get into what will be the next track, the chamber of 32 doors. So we need to get into this chamber, then to get out. So it's not exactly what I thought. Well, well, after I learned the story, I kind of prefer my teenager interpretation. It was very meaningful to me. But it's just part of this surrealistic story And we can see when we see the lyrics, that's very surreal how it
This
is.
is this is the
It's
point
written.
of this is the point in surrealistic art. Anyone has
Yeah,
your own
yeah,
interpretation,
exactly,
your
exactly.
your own travel trip.
Yeah, but then we see how great it is that we it's nice to approach music that you don't know with a very fresh mind. So I don't need to read the lyrics or read about a band before I listen. Because if you do this, then you spoil this incredible experience of listening to something and get a lot of free interpretations. As the philologist Bakhtin, I studied Bakhtin from the Bakhtin circle in Russia, and Bakhtin says, well, every time you read a book or you see a painting, a building, or or you listen to some music, you are an author too. And the more the writer or the painter or the musician allows you to be an author, the better is your experience. So he says you create counter words to the words that you are listening. So in a sense, well, as a teenager, my counter words were quite meaningful to something that uh, was. And in fact, who knows, might be exactly that because Rael is in this voyage of self-discovery. He had to enter chamber 42 doors and then get out. So it could be exactly a picture of getting into your subconscious or trying to figure out who you are and then come back.
It's interesting that the kind of art is from the first half of uh,
70s.
the progressive rock, yes, but the surrealistic art
Ah, no,
from
it's
the
a beginning of yeah.
first half of the
1910,
20th century,
1920. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and is the same time in the at the time we had um, a, strong rationalism in art too, because you quote Russian philosopher. They are in the time at the time constructivists. Like, no, it's very rational art, uh, and even in the writing too, and the so is the same. I think the surrealism is a
Yeah.
reaction
It's a
to
reaction, yeah, for sure.
the overthink of the rationalism in architecture, in painting too. Picasso is a high rational painter, and but even Picasso, if you read a lot about the painting, because you can understand, especially when search the paints happen, because before you had the impressionist suddenly you have Picasso, Braque, Gris. So it's very shocking, the kind of
Comparing
image.
to the Impressionists.
So people that read a lot before uh, go to visit uh, a painting in real time is make you lost some kind of surprise element of
Yeah, yeah.
see that. I think even in a rational art, you uh, said
For
before
sure,
right
for
now,
sure, for sure.
yeah, is a we can apply to that too.
Yeah. One thing that happens is for sure surrealism is reacting to this rationality, but it's the beginning of the 20th century. So we had what Freud calls the third narcissistic wound after the displacing of Earth from the center of the world, and Darwin saying, well, we are animals like other animals. And then he says, well, the discovery of the unconscious, the proposal for the unconscious, is the third narcissistic theory. And it's quite clear André Breton and other surrealistic artists are under this influence because what they want with automatic writing is to make the unconscious say things without the limits of logic, without the limits of rationality. So they were trying to develop a way of making the unconscious speak. So it's all
Yes.
in, and the idea of the unconscious was absolutely fundamental to frame what the 20th century was to become. It was so influential, uh, psychoanalytic theory, and so that's all converging. So it's interesting that listen to something like we listen today to the carpet crawlers, and that's something very special of a work of art that is condensating so many things into like 5 minutes of music. You have the unconscious, you have Andre Breton surrealism, and you have all the influence of classical music and rock and roll and pop music. It's all together in 5 minutes. So that's one track that every time I listen, it is very intense because there's so many things happening, even though it doesn't look like so many things are happening because it is a verse chorus structure. So I always go back to the chorus. We've got the carpet crawlers hit the collars. We've got get in to get out, but it's growing. You have this thing if you listen, and I suggest all the people who are listening to us go back, buy the recordings, watch the video again in the Genesis official channel, and listen to it as a whole without stops. And you see that Tony Banks is doing the same thing along all the track. But if you pay attention to the dynamics, he's not doing the same thing. He's becoming more and more and more intense. So it's growing all the time. So Tony Banks grows with this hypnotic sequence of notes all the time. So it looks like the same, but it's not the same. And you can see this for all the instruments and to the vocal performance of Peter Gabriel. It looks like the same, but it's not the same. It's always progressing and becomes more and more and more emotional. So it's amazing. That's an amazing track, amazing composition.
This is a nice distinction you um, made. I don't know if you are aware that, but uh, because surrealism is this music specifically is not complete nonsense.
No,
No,
not at all. Not at all.
uh, and surrealism has this transition. What painting from Salvador Dali, you can recognize many elements
Yeah.
there. But the way the painter arrange the elements make your mind trip to somewhere that is not the common reality we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. It looks like a dream. The fact is very dreamy. A dream is not
Yes,
completely, it is crazy, but there's a lot of meaning. So it's like
yes.
collages of
Inconscient,
things. Yeah. The unconscious
inconscient
goes through
is,
dreams, as people say. Yeah.
yeah, he is structured as a language too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. There is a
And
plot. When you dream and remember the dream, there is a plot. The
yes,
plot's not completely understandable, but you kind of know what's going on, but also you don't know what's going on. And that's the fantastic feeling you have. It's unknown and known at the same time. Yeah.
but there is a version of surrealism, the Dadaism, that is more nonsense.
That's very
That
nonsensical.
uh, and André Breton, I think, is
No,
translating
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
both
Yeah.
areas.
I don't remember if he created Dadaism, but he was also involved
Is one of the founders.
of
If
Dadaism
I,
too. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he is a Swiss guy, right?
yeah, yeah. I think he's Swiss. He's a
I
great,
think
great character.
I
If
think
you don't
he
know
is
who André
one
Breton
of the
is, you need to
founders.
look for him, read about him. Was an amazing guy,
Yes.
courageous, bold guy. As an artist, he was a very bold guy. So okay, I hope you all enjoyed. So that was us with the carpet crawlers by Genesis and a lot of talk about the unconscious and philosophy and language. Well, we told you this would happen, but that's exactly who we are. So The channel
André
is about
Breton.
sharing. We need to share who we are. Yeah,
André
Chico,
Breton
please.
was a French guy.
It
Just
was French. It was French.
before we close this.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Good, good. You check it. Well, there are many
Yes.
people that people think are Swiss who are French and vice versa. Uh, f- French Swiss is quite connected to France, so it's understandable. So,
Mm.
okay, I hope you enjoyed. If you like it, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, continue enjoying. We'll continue producing videos. For now, it's all. Bye bye.
Bye.